Welcome to Fouts Boxing Theory, home of the #1 striking coach on the planet. If punching power is what you seek, then the Fouts Boxing combat system is what you need. Contact me on Patreon at Fouts Boxing. That's my email, MatthewFouts@gmail.com, and at Fouts Boxing for my Instagram. And on this video, we're going to be talking about Dmitry Bivol versus Artur Beterbiev. And I want you guys to pay attention to this timing here. It's jab, pendulum. He gets caught with the jab and peeled off the line here. This is a very, very common timing for jab, pendulum, right hand. For Canelo, it's also a very, very common timing for Artur Beterbiev, jab, pendulum, right hand. And again, I want to point out that Bivol dealt with that for the most part pretty well. Okay, so jab, pendulum gets interacted with here. It is able to disrupt his attack and disrupt his line. And we have a lot of clips to get through. Now up, and he's going to jab on the way down, and then he's going to throw this. So I just want to point out that most of the time when Beterbiev does this, he jabs up. You see how he double jabs kind of here to throw the two here? He doesn't always do that, but there's an extra beat there for his jab, okay? Now again, jab, pendulum, gets disrupted, eats a left hook here. Very, very, very important. We're going to talk about all this stuff in greater detail later, but I just kind of wanted to start painting the picture of who Artur Beterbiev is as a fighter, and we're going to talk about him, and, I'm going to call it right now, the myth of Artur Beterbiev, okay? Now, I teach what I call 2-foot punching. It's basically learning how to use your entire kinetic chain. It starts with the ground. And we have to learn how to utilize both of our feet. And Artur Beterbiev is a great example of this type of technique. We can take a look at his structure here. He's on the ball of the back foot. He's on the heel and the ball of the front foot. And he's going to kind of jump into this leaping left hook. Okay, I call this a pendulum left hook. He's going to create this structure almost every single time he actually throws a punch, where he's going to get on the ball of the back foot and be planted on the front foot. And he kind of drives from both feet to make these attacks, okay? This is how he generates so much force. Now, he just jumped into this guy's line 5 seconds into the round, okay? Not even 5 seconds into the round, immediately 2 seconds. And now he's shoving him, okay? And now he's going to reset, and he's going to immediately get back onto his line with the same type of technique, same type of timing, jab, and he's going to give a tiny little feint here, pendulum, take this little body shot off the line. But he's kind of desperate here to close the distance, okay? And we're going to talk about that a little bit later, because it's not an accident that he uses the leaping left hook so much when he's closing the distance, and why he uses that pendulum jab. We're going to talk about that when we get toward the end of the film study. But here he is, landing the shot. Now he's going to take a step here, and now he's going to pendulum again. His back leg is going to come forward. His front leg moves. He gets disrupted. He gets jabbed. And now look at him take a step off the line. Okay, this is very, very, very important that he gets disrupted here, and that it disrupts his line, and that you guys pay attention to that, because it's going to have a huge impact on the rest of the film study, okay? Now, Beterbiev comes in through the same timing, right? Jab, pendulum. He gets to this position, throws the right hand. It looks like it misses. Smith moves to the front foot here, okay? Now he gets controlled here, okay? He's going to kind of get controlled by Beterbiev, and we're going to talk about that a little bit more in depth, and then a big left hook here comes here. Now, this is literally 11 seconds into the round, and Smith is getting hit by a power punch. He's getting hit with a punch that's, number one, it's a power punch. Number two, he's in a position where if people are getting hit with punches when they're in this position, it's near the end of the fight. And he's already giving up sequences like this very, very early in the fight, eating huge punches, another shot, another shot. Now, he's going to pendulum, jab on the way down, throw the right hand here, throw the left hook, and this punch here is a punch that was hard enough to end the fight. It was one of the hardest shots early in the fight. And again, check this out, okay? He's going to throw this shot, and he kind of cuffs him, and he throws this shot, and he kind of cuffs him and holds his head down, finds space to throw this punch, and then right into this punch. And he's going to hold his head down and kind of push him a little bit toward that direction into his left hook, okay? Now, there's actually quite a bit of cupping here from Beterbiev for a few reasons. Number one, Beterbiev doesn't really know what to do with his hands, okay? He's not really a guy who blocks punches or catches punches. His hands are always really, really, really tight in the glove, so he doesn't really block or catch punches, which also means that it's very, very difficult for him to throw rounded punches. The angles are going to be different. He's not going to be able to figure out how to get his landing knuckles to his target. He's not going to figure out how to get there because he's going to be kind of swinging, right, rather than striking. Now, it means that when he misses his punches and he follows through, he's going to do this move a lot, okay? Now, one of the things that I want to talk about in this fight is that Beterbiev is actually pretty bad in this position on the front foot. Okay, when he gets into this position, he kind of has to find himself in a position where he's going to be controlling you. Otherwise, he's going to be vulnerable to counters because he doesn't block, he doesn't catch punches, he doesn't really pull counter. He does have a couple of little traps, but he doesn't really get his weight down under, even though he has to 2-foot punch, and he does 2-foot punch into his punches. We're going to explore more about what I'm talking about, but again, coming down, and now this time he comes down as he closes distance. As soon as he gets into range, he's coming down, but Smith doesn't realize he's on his way down with this hook, leaps in this shot, and now watch this. He's going to jab, and watch his bottom half of his legs. He's still moving. He's still giving himself a little pendulum, controlling space here, and then cracks Smith here. Okay, now look at all the space. They're about in the middle of the ring, and he's throwing this shot, leaping, double pendulum, boom. Now again, controlling him and holding his head down. Because of the fact that Beterbiev's technique is, on average so poor and he's so exposed, right? There's so much space here, right, for him to get hit as Beterbiev is coming out. Smith just doesn't hit him. And then from here to here, there's all this time to hit him as well, while he's closing the distance between him and Smith, closing half of the entire ring off. Okay? Now, again, we're going to talk about why that's really important later. Cracks him with that shot, holds his head down a little bit, and doesn't let him up. Again, because he's not very good on the front foot. He's not very good at defending himself on the front foot. His post-punch positions and his post-punch defense are very poor. And again, this is a result of him not really understanding how his punching power works, okay? Now, he's not completely a fish out of water. Sometimes when his opponents are doing a good job of controlling him or keeping him from hitting him, he'll do these things where he'll try to circle this way. And he's trying to find himself an opportunity to kind of either throw this left hook here, which gets kind of blocked here. It'll be a leaping shot. Again, that's all that he does because he doesn't really want to fight in that mid-range. He just wants to get really close to you and just batter you. Again, he's not very good with his rounded punches. His hand position's all the same. He needs to be in a very particular structure. He has to be at a very particular range as well. We're going to talk about that as well. Throws a shot, controls his head, and then has this little ugly chopping shot that he doesn't really know how to control. He doesn't really know how to get to a moving target or get through the target. Again, because his punch technique on average is pretty poor. Okay. Now, jab, pendulum, jab, gets controlled by a jab, breaks his momentum. Okay, and this is a very, very consistent theme in Beterbiev's ability to fight. Now, again, gets really close, hits him with the jab, pendulum, lands, expects a jab, and tries to check the guard. Nothing happens. Okay. Now, as he's closing the distance, he has Smith in the corner. He gets jabbed, and look at how much space he gives up from one jab. Okay. Again, he doesn't really catch punches. He doesn't block. He doesn't really defend his positions. Beterbiev gives up position every time you feint him, control him, do anything, you show him anything, and he'll just give up that space. So Smith says, okay, I'm going to jab, I'm going to pendulum, I'm going to throw a hook, and I'm going to throw, or an uppercut, and I'm going to throw a hook, keep pushing him away. And now all of a sudden, Smith is no longer on the ropes. He's no longer in danger. He has access to the entire ring. He can go anywhere he wants. And Beterbiev is actually in a poor position to defend himself on each of those subsequent pendulum steps. Okay? So, getting to the line, and now Beterbiev is coming forward. Check out the lack of head movement. He's crossing the line very, very, very slightly, but primarily fighting on the right side of the line, choosing not to cross Callum Smith's line, which means also that he has to fight. If he doesn't cross, he has to fight with this jab, this pendulum jab, and then come forward and close the distance between him and Beterbiev. Him and Smith. This is the only way that it works for him. He can't do it any other way because he can't really slip to the front foot and catch punches, which is where you catch punches on the front foot, which is where he's always holding people with his right hand or his left hook, not catching punches, not blocking, not defending, not slipping. And we're going to talk about this a little bit later when we talk about Bivol and stuff. But again, how easy it is to control space, right? How much time has been bled on the clock because Beterbiev is not very good at this, right? Now, As soon as Smith gets into a position here where the ring is getting cut off, he decides to sit here, and for whatever reason it is, Beterbiev gives him a little bit of feint, a little bit of a pendulum here, right? Because most people use this move to signify that they're going to attack, right? So it freezes Smith, and Smith says, "Oh, okay, nothing's going to happen," or he sees, "Okay, nothing happens," but Beterbiev sees that nothing's going to happen, so he goes in and throws this shot, right? But he kind of checked the line, and now he's landing this shot. But it's only really because Smith decided to sit on the line, and this is a really, really, really important part because there's so many other moves and opportunities to stepping jab and do stuff, and yada yada yada. And again, we're going to talk about that as we continue to talk about Beterbiev and who he is as a fighter. Again, he doesn't really block punches. His hand is up. But if you've ever seen him on the mitts, his coach will literally just touch him on the mitts or touch him on the forearm. This is not how you block punches, okay? Now, we're going to talk about it with Bivol as well because Bivol has a similar problem. He doesn't really know how to interact with his opponent's actual punches. Jab, pendulum, jab comes, disrupts his line. He's no longer attacking. Why did he pendulum in if he's not going to throw a right hand? He only put himself in a poor position, right? Now he's coming forward again. Pendulum's on him, and again, Callum Smith on the ropes decides to sit there and allow him to throw these punches. Now he sees the three coming to the body this time, like he didn't see it last time. And check out all the follow-ups here from Beterbiev. Okay, notice when he throws this shot, boom, 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 boom. He's not falling in and grabbing and holding him. He can immediately follow up and immediately follow up. Again, because it's part of his strategy, right? Now, in the first 30 seconds, he jumped onto Smith's line and threw 15 punches, hard shots. And again, Bivol always throws everything hard. He doesn't throw any soft punches. He always throws everything hard. And I think that this causes him to kind of gas out. And sometimes he's going to choose to control you by shoving you and controlling you. And we're going to talk about that in depth as well as we move on. Jab, jab, pendulum, right? Checking the line with those jab pendulums. Immediately walks into a rounded punch around the guard. Again, he's not really blocking. There's a huge hole there. He just has his hands in front of his face, but check it out. Beterbiev doesn't really bring his weight and bring his rear shoulder to the line. You see how he's kind of curled, but he's kind of on the right side of the line, but he's doesn't really have any head movement, but he's kind of on the right side of the line, but he's not blocking with the left arm. He's not blocking. He just has his hand in this perfunctory position, and now Callum Smith is kind of going around it. But Beterbiev is not in a classical high guard where he's kind of squared up and he's waiting for a punch, so he has all these defensive maneuvers. No, he's mostly on the back foot of his line already. He's mostly got his weight on the back foot, even though his back foot's likely on the ball of the foot, the back foot. But his head is toward the right side and the back half of his line. He doesn't really have anywhere to go. He can't really get away from this punch, and this is a common problem that he has. And again, he doesn't counter very well either. Now, he's going to counter some of this stuff, and I'm going to show you it's very rarely. He'll do a funny pull, and he'll land one punch. But it'll be in pendulum. It'll be this thing. It'll be not a traditional pull. Okay, and all that stuff is very, very, very important. But it allows his opponents to control a lot of space, right? Now, Callum Smith's smacking him with that jab as he's trying to come forward. He's trying to get to the front foot, and now check out how exaggerated this is. Check out his rear hand. Look at how, I don't want to say how far away from his face it is, but it's not exactly where Canelo would have his. His fist is tight. He's not trying to catch jabs. Feints, comes forward. Here's his pendulum motion. He's checking to see if it's safe to pendulum onto Smith's guard. Okay, so he's going to come forward and try to pendulum. Oh, surprise, it's not, because, hey, when you check the line with the most common move to slam your weight into your opponent, the pendulum right hand, people see it coming. It's very common. And Smith choosing to interact with it more appropriately this time. And again, so now he has to protect it by throwing, again, a jab. Now, again, this is not a feinting jab. It's not really a probing jab. This is a jab to land and punch Smith in the face so he can pendulum and land on him. Now, he makes it into this position expecting a punch. He pendulum. He expects a punch. Comes down. Callum Smith sees the weight coming. He ducks. Comes up with the hook and smacks Beterbiev in the face. Okay, because Beterbiev has to come forward. He only has one way to come forward. It's either the naked pendulum step or the pendulum step right after the jab. And he's just not very good at defending his positions. He doesn't block. Now, through a right hand pulled. This is very important, okay? Because if you throw this punch at your opponent and they pull and they move their head back, they're going to move their head right back into that straight forward in that spot. But Bivol is pretty fast. Bivol throws really, really great combinations. If you've ever seen him on the double end bag, his hand speed is nuts. He has a really great stepping jab. He gets onto the line really quickly. The likelihood that you're going to beat him with this punch on the next beat is very low. But also, I think that Bivol is very likely going to beat you to the line, or beat Bivol to the line, or Beterbiev to the line with a better punch than the one he's actually catching Smith here. Now, this is all clips in the first round, and all this space. This is the first time since that first sequence in the first round that Beterbiev is really landing any punches. He lands this punch to kind of counter Smith's momentum. He's kind of been moving around, throwing lots and lots of combinations, like I've been showing you, controlling Beterbiev. Beterbiev hasn't been scoring. He hasn't really been getting into punching position. It's been really easy to control him, but when he does score, he scores pretty well. Again, he's a guy who's really strong. He's definitely 2-foot punches. Down, up. You see him jumping with his jab here. Again, he just doesn't understand how to control this or correctly train it so that he doesn't have to jump and fly around. Okay, and again, learning that skill is very, very, very important. But learning the skill that Beterbiev knows is very important as well. Okay, you can't be a great fighter unless you kind of know all the skills. Pendulums gets controlled, interacted with. Now again, he's cut the ring off. He has him in the ropes, pushes him off the line, jab. He does look like he tries to parry a jab after that. Now he tries to pendulum. He gets jabbed at, pushed off the line. After the jab, notice he immediately ducked under the line just in case the right hand still came. Spoiler alert, Beterbiev doesn't play like that. As soon as you disrupt his line, he stops. Beterbiev pendulums on him, shoves Smith off the line, and now here he comes. Jab, hits him with a jab. Again, it's not a feinting, it's not a probing, it's not controlling. He just does it. Jab again. He re-pendulums. He's so close to him, and now moves into a 2 and a 3, and then into 2. And again, this is an interesting wrinkle. This particular sequence is really interesting because, for the most part, right, when we get to the Canelo part, I think Canelo is a better version of Artur Beterbiev. However, one thing that differentiates them is that after Canelo throws his hardest punch and he jumps on your line and goes, he can't do this. He cannot do this because, in spite of the fact that I think that on average Canelo is a harder puncher, he gets his hardest punch to the line much more often than Beterbiev gets his hardest punch to the line. When he exerts himself off the same timing, he gets much more power into the punch on average, and it's much faster than Beterbiev's. But Beterbiev does it so much more effortlessly. He's kind of chilling, he's kind of relaxing because he's punching, pound for pound for his weight. Now, we're going to talk about that a little bit. Let me see if I have this video open. I did not open it. Drats. But that's okay. We're going to talk about it a little bit. Now, throws a shot. Again, gets on his line. All the same stuff, getting on his line all the same ways. But notice this is the most dangerous that Beterbiev has looked, and it's because Callum Smith was sitting on the line, doing nothing. This is a huge factor in Beterbiev being successful, is their opponent's inability to circle, to get off the ropes, to manage distance, to manage the pendulum step, because the pendulum step can be used to cut the ring off. Now, shoots a jab here as he's coming forward. Now, the round starts getting a little bit more competitive. Counters with a jab, right? He comes in, tries to throw the shot. Now, check this out. He catches him with this shot, and this is the kind of shot for Beterbiev where he's kind of close already. The ring is basically cut off. Tries the jab, doesn't work. Look at how close he is. He takes a little tiny step with his front foot, throws this big overhand right. Bivol sucks at blocking punches. He sucks at it. Okay, he is terrible at it. We're going to take a look at it as well. Canelo catches him with some zingers like this as well. We're going to see it. But this is one of those places where if he can bridge the gap between the distance between his right hand and Bivol's head before Bivol can catch him with the jab, or he catches Bivol sitting on the ropes, being a little lackadaisical, not being aware, he may be able to catch him. And here's the thing is, no matter how bad Bivol's boxing is, now again, follows up, he's going to throw that too, shifting forward. Again, his technique is not that good. His momentum is going to drag him to that position. Counter. and then he throws an immediate left, and then another immediate right. Again, there's no reason for him to be falling into his opponents, right? When we get back to this topic, other than it's part of his strategy for defending himself after he punches. Again, he does not really have any post punch defense. He'll smash the line, and we can see that he's clearly capable of smashing the line again if nothing's coming back at him. Okay, now back to this punch again. This is one of those things that I think, may be pretty decent. I think we're going to take a look at it as well. Joe Smith catches him with kind of a similar move, and it's not. This move is not being followed or being led by the jab here, and being the fact that Beterbiev always controls. See how he does this? His head is to the right side of Smith's line, right? To the right side of Smith's head. He throws the jab. Smith knows exactly where he is. Now he's going to get on the line, and instead he moves his head and throws a punch. But how very rarely does Bivol throw probing rear hands? How often does he open the line with a rear hand, right? Off of his active guard, or, and it's not the safest thing. You don't want to just be exploding, but it can create an element of safety when your opponent's expecting all of your attacks from the same head position, right? Now, think about how sad that is. You have fought so poorly that when you do something that's also bad, it's such a surprise to your opponent, it works. Okay. Now, as we continue going forward, very, very dangerous move. The ring is cut off. He's going to force Callum Smith to throw a jab. He pushes him to the back foot. Smith moves his weight toward the back foot over here, toward the right side of the line, throws a stepping jab like this, and it gets slip countered off of Bivol's probe. Okay, so watch. Bivol is going to probe him, and then the jab comes. He slips it, and this is an incredibly hard move to do. It's incredibly hard to do. You have to be really, really, really strong and fit to be able to do moves like this. And we're going to talk about Artur Beterbiev's strength and fitness toward the end, especially in light of his new tests, because, like I've been saying, his boxing skill is pretty poor. I think it would be very, very, very difficult to become as good of a puncher as Artur Beterbiev is without being better at boxing, without having to learn like somebody like De Los Santos. That guy is a slick boxer, and he's a puncher. You very seldomly see somebody as limited as Artur Beterbiev, who can punch as hard as he can, you know. Anyway, jab gets countered. Jab gets countered. Not very difficult so far. And the jab comes, and he has to pendulum off it, even though he missed. Right? Again, because Beterbiev's openers are so limited, he just doesn't have that many different ways to get on your line. Now, this is a really, really interesting clip here. Watch him pendulum here. And now, see him here? See him have to pendulum even one more time? Did you guys see that? Pendulum? Checks the line. Hey, anything happen? Now he's going to pendulum. Now watch his weight. Again, his foot is still moving. Do you see how at the end he still had to give another hop? It's the only way that he knows how to throw this punch is with that little hop off that little pendulum. It's terrible. It's absolutely terrible. And here he is, found himself squared in a position where he's just going to let his hands go. These are not like, if you saw them, you're not like, oh, that's great boxing, that's great this, right? Now check this out. Remember earlier when I talked about that specific range and position? He doesn't not very good in any of these other positions. You have to fight out of. Isn't this exactly where he wants? Right? And I mean, obviously we don't want to be the one on the ropes, right? But he wants the guy on him, coming to him, fighting him, right? Close the distance, shoves him. Okay, this is illegal. Again, this is what he does instead of real defense. Okay, now he's going to get on the line here and stick his lead hand out and take a step and throw the uppercut. It gets blocked. But he's stepping with his jab, and look at how close he is. Now he shoves him a little bit, shoves him, hits him with a little thing, and now he's going to shift and throw his left hand and take a step, and then throw another right hand and get countered to the body, and then countered to the body. Now, because he's forced to shift, because he doesn't have good positioning with his front feet, he doesn't really understand what 2-foot punching is, even though he does it. Even though we saw at the beginning of this clip, he forced himself to jump into his right hand and he missed. He doesn't have very good post-punch defense. He doesn't understand how the technique works, even though he forces himself to use it to get the type of exertion and power. But that's why he falls off balance and winds up walking into these shots, and everything winds up being so predictable. Now, let's take a look at this. Okay, well, maybe too far. Boom, pushes him off the line. See him pendulum. Now he's going to immediately pendulum back onto the line and gets interrupted. Lands off the pendulum. Counter, counter, counter. And again, has to try to hit him with it. Misses. Comes up, interacted with the hook. Again, so few of his opportunities to fight you don't come off of that move. Now, we're going to take a look at Dmitry Bivol and who he is and why, again, I think he's going to have not an easy time, but this might be a really easy fight for him. First off, Joe Smith has a very similar problem where he fights on the right side of the line as well. He won't cross the line very often, and we're going to see what effect this has, what profound effect this has. But because of the fact that he sits in that position, Dmitry Bivol feels very comfortable catching jabs here. He doesn't feel threatened when Joe Smith looks to attack him with the jab, so he is able to come around the guard or try to come around the guard, and Bivol's still able to see it. Jab, jab, comes around with the hook, leaping thing, very similar to Artur Beterbiev. Now, I know that Beterbiev smashed this guy. I know. This guy sucks at blocking punches as well. And two guys who suck at blocking punches but are also good at throwing punches get together. One of them is bound to get knocked out, right? Beterbiev versus Bivol. Think about that. So, now he throws that jab, and immediately Bivol's countering that jab, controlling the space. And again, the lead hand is not scary enough to Bivol to control any space. So if Artur Beterbiev is controlling space with that jab and then penduluming after, Bivol is always going to be in position to counter him when he lands, or right as soon as that jab ends, just like in this last jab here, where the jab comes and he's going to jab, and here he is coming, boom, and immediately countering that shot before the pendulum would even come off. So he'd even be able to hit him with the right hand by the time he landed. Now again, defending these punches, pendulum in position to control, interact with that. No counter there from Bivol, but there will be later. Okay. Now, timing, countering with the jab, controlling the jab again. Not a credible threat in Bivol's game. His guard is too tight. His ability to catch and interact with the jab is too good, even though he doesn't block punches very well. Okay, and we're going to talk about that and talk about why that's important as well. But again, Joe Smith is very, very similar to Bivol or to Artur Beterbiev, and we can see with the lead hand control, Bivol is doing a good enough job interacting with this tool when it comes there, and we'll see how he interacts with it when it stops coming. Okay, feinting, controlling, but he's waiting for that rear hand from Smith. He's waiting for Smith to do something. Stepping jab to the body, he parries it. Beautiful, beautiful work. Now again, Joe Smith fighting from the right side of the line, controlling, not really able to cross the line yet, not really able to make anything happen. Okay, eating a jab for his work, right? Getting followed back. Now he's going to jab, pendulum, right? He's going to start doing that stuff too. Boom, gets smacked by a jab, and then Bivol gets off before the right hand comes. And again, this timing here is exactly what Bivol is trying, or Beterbiev is trying to do too, right? But this one is actually a little bit faster than the way that Bivol presents his jab pendulum. His control comes in a different rate in this sequence. Okay, and this is very important that Bivol can see this coming. Now, boom, pull, right? And again, Beterbiev is a guy that's going to shift forward when he's in the open ring, and he's just going to try to flood the line with his momentum and his punches to push you to the ropes so he can bully you. And we can see Dmitry Bivol doing a good job of interacting with him, not getting bullied to the ropes, catching him with a shot in between. And again, while he's shifting, Beterbiev is not very good. And again, not really getting hit, right? Doing a pretty decent job there. Now, as you're following him around and you're circling and doing all this stuff, he may just break into a combination here. And you never know if he's going to throw one punch, two punches, or three punches. And this is something that's very important because Smith gained a lot of control over Beterbiev just by throwing a random punch at him. And because of the fact that Beterbiev doesn't block punches, Bivol's going to have a lot of control. And when he does attack, he's going to have a lot of time because there's a lack of counters to really flood the line and score. And we're going to see when he does that to Canelo. We have a lot of clips to take a look at. Jab. Now, he's going to jab, pendulum, and again, Bivol's countering him, right? The same time, boom, boom, jab, pendulum, before he can even land, eating a right hand. And again, um, Artur Beterbiev does not do very well when you interact with him, and you can isolate him from his own jab here, right? Now, again, not having a lot of success, not really getting onto the line very well. Bivol countering that jab, following him back. Now, uh, Smith, oh, is there going to be a counter here, right? He's checking. So, no, there wasn't that time. So now he's just going to go and shoot on him, right? Now, again, you never know if he's going to throw punches, if he's going to control, if he's going to leave. But Smith can't keep his hand out there the whole fight. He can't control space the whole time because his arm's going to get tired. I know that sounds like a cop out, but control your hand. Stick it out there for 40 minutes straight. Leave it out there. Now do that while you're punching, right? So as soon as he gives up space, Dmitry Bivol finds an opportunity to start finding punches and walks him into this right hand. Beautiful shot. Now again, gets off the line. Again, all of this is while Smith is trying to come forward. Smith is trying to find a way to weave through the line to make it to the front foot, and he's having a very difficult time getting into a position where he can score. And again, I think that because of the fact that Beterbiev has such similar technical flaws with the way that he circles and he moves. Now, again, check this out too. This is very important. See when he pushes him off the line? Boom. Look at where he goes to circle. Look at how far he was when he decided to actually engage with him. Okay. Bivol is also, for the most part, a pretty good ring general. Okay, he's going to take his place right here in the center of the ring now, way away from that point where Artur Beterbiev is going to think, okay, it's safe for me to pendulum on him like it was safe when he would do it to Smith. Even though sometimes he will check the line pretty decently. Um, Perry. Now, um, this is something that I don't always like from Bivol. Okay, sometimes he's going to do stuff where he interacts with the shot and he's not going to counter. He makes it to this position, but this is the opportunity for him to throw a punch. This is his opportunity to counter because this is the timing that Smith is going to try to hit him with. So at this beat, he has to do something, and sometimes he chooses to stay there close to the line. He doesn't get off. He won't exit. He won't circle. He won't, and he'll kind of allow his opponent to make this connection with him and kind of control him, shove him around, do stuff. Now, chasing him around, controlling him, having a hard time crossing the line, having a hard time getting into position. Bivol's not really giving him that much but lead hand control. And that's in the lack of presence of his other lead hand control, right? Or rather, Smith's lead hand control. Now he pushes him off the line. Now when he jumps off the line, he's going to predict that Smith is going to jump back onto the line immediately, and he winds up using that timing to flood the line with some punches, right? Some really, really cool stuff. And again, picking him off, dragging him around the ropes, and again, finally, again, circling. Now, this is a really, really, really important thing here, too. Okay, because Bivol does a really good job. He doesn't normally do this move, but circle, keeps getting followed. Now, watch this move. Jab, Smith pendulums. He's going to try to land with the right hand. When Bivol lands, he slams his right hand into Smith's face. Okay, again, picking apart that timing, getting his head off the line for what could have been a snappy right hand from his opponent, landing a shot, and following up with a left hook. And then penduluming and following up with a left hook, and then getting off the line. Now, that second part, that last part, where after he landed the first left hook, boom, this is bad. This is very scary for you to do because that might be fight ending move here. He wind up forcing himself to pivot on the front foot in front of the guy who's throwing the right hand. Like, you know, don't make that part of your template. Everything else he did before that, perfect, great boxing, but you don't need to stay on the line, defend your position, um, or get off, right? Don't keep throwing combinations at the guy who just barely struggled to get on the line with you and now, you know. Anyway, checking the line with those jabs, jab, try to see, counters him, right? Nah, he ain't even phased. Very, very, again, seeing that shot coming, slipping to the right side, throwing the counter. Again, Bivol is also pretty good at these slip counters, right? Now, I think that the slip counter game with Bivol and Beterbiev, I think that Beterbiev is better at it. No, excuse me. Let me say that not better at it, but he has the more potential to score an upset because of that. He has more potential to win the fight off the back of that move, right? So slip countering and fighting those kind of moves, like in this open space here, right? Off of these type of sequences where they're not super tied down, right? He's trying to parry that shot and slam over the top. High risk, right? High risk. I think that Bivol should probably not do that as much as possible. I mean, do it sometimes, but like don't let Beterbiev start getting any visuals on it or get used to it. Feinting him there, hitting him with the jab. He's trying to come forward, countering right over the top. And again, the same timing. He's going to jab, pendulum, east to right hand, east to left hook. And again, this is Beterbiev's entire, bread and butter. It's the only way that he can get any real weight on the line. Now, Smith jumps on the line, boom, boom, double jab, right hand over the top. Remember the one where I showed you guys very rarely does Beterbiev do a double jab? Well, he does a double jab and snaps over the top and cracks Bivol here. And watch Bivol. His legs do a little bit of funky chicken right there, right? And then he moves into smother, okay, and hold. Now he's not holding, he's tying up the arms, so, mostly legal. Anytime that you wind up failing to tie up your opponent's arms, do you know what happens? You get punched. So it's mostly fair. Mostly. The only reason it would not be fair is, they make weight classes for a reason. If the guy's way bigger than you, he can grab and hold your arms and you can't interact with him. Yada, yada, yada. He does this thing. He gets walked into this shot. Bivol doesn't block punches. Okay, it's very important. He's so close to this guy. He wants to control his arm here. He's not even, is he punching him in the face? Maybe it is a jab. But because he's so close, and if we take a look at again, stepping jab, right? You can't tell super well, but when his leg is locked here and he's going to bring his weight and his hips forward, his heel kind of moves forward. He's kind of stepping with this jab. He doesn't block, right? Instead of punching, he could be blocking here. Very similar motion. And it's much safer against the type of attack that's coming, right? Now, this kind of goes counterintuitively in the face of like, oh, you can just counter the jab. Sometimes it's going to be a trap. Sometimes don't throw a stepping jab onto your opponent when you're so close to him. You bridge the gap. You bring yourself too close to the right hand, and now he can't pull himself away in time, right? But normally he's pretty fast. So he does get hit there. There are some opportunities because Bivol's a pretty decent puncher, but here's the thing. How many times did he really crack Smith? And Smith, granted, Smith didn't make it out the whole fight, right? But if you watch this fight, Smith versus Beterbiev, or Smith versus Bivol, the amount of danger that Bivol is in throughout the course of the entire fight is so low. Now, again, leaping shot, down, up, same thing. Controlling him here. Now, boom, he blocks it. Look at how he catches it on his forearm. This is a bad block. You don't want to block like this. You still may get hit around the guard, but Smith is going to hold him here. He's going to wrap his arms around him. He doesn't want him to get away from him so he can hit him. Now, Beterbiev has a lot of knockdowns in similar moves like this where he'll hold a guy. He usually prefers the framing, but he will hold the guy to keep him close, hold his head down, chop him, hit him on the outside. This kind of stuff is the stuff that Bivol really needs to avoid because I do think that Bivol has a really good chin, but Beterbiev gets a lot of credit for landing one punch. Remember that punch in the second round where I showed him? He hit him with one jab after chasing Smith around all round, doing nothing, getting beat up. A lot of sequences that were really in favor of Smith. Lands one good jab. The whole boxing community was mad that Smith won the second round. I thought he won the second round too. I thought it was pretty clear. I thought it was pretty damn obvious. But because Beterbiev gets, when somebody says, "Oh man, that was a jab that landed on Smith's face," they say, "Okay, well how hard could that jab possibly have been?" And they immediately go, "Well, if it was Beterbiev's, 100%. That's the hardest jab you could be hit with, pound for pound. So we'll give him full credit, power punch." Smith landed 3 left hooks, but Beterbiev landed 1 good jab. Well, Beterbiev's the real puncher, so he's going to get credit for the KO, right? So, anyway, if he gets hit clean with shots and he winds up losing rounds because people think they're shots that are big enough to hurt him, he's going to lose rounds that he otherwise cleanly boxes him. Now, if we think about this idea, this is really important because This is a similar margin that I gave Errol Spence, right? Errol Spence, I gave him like very similarly, by the way. Um, Beterbiev is an Errol Spence, but with a worse jab, a much, much, much worse jab. Bivol is no Terence Crawford. He's basically super Bivol, right? Because he doesn't really have any head movement himself either. Um, but anyway, uh, but Terence Crawford has the same flaw where he'll have to jab and force himself to pendulum after the move, and Spence was able to take advantage, or Crawford was able to take advantage of it. Now check out how bladed he is now. Okay, this is very important because he can't find his way, right, to get his right shoulder to the front foot. He is not allowed to be there because Bivol hits him, so he has to stay in this much, much, much more bladed stance. He doesn't want to be here because his right hand is so far away; it's so easy to see. I think that this is the effect that fighting Bivol is going to have on Artur Beterbiev. I think that Artur Beterbiev is going to get stuck in a very similar position. He's going to be less dominant on the line. He's going to have less opportunities overall for the same types of offense. And Bivol, because of his speed and his smacky, slappy power, he's not the hardest puncher either. Um, but he's going to be able to deal with this. He's going to be able to see stuff coming, interact with it. How good was this punch, though? Again, Bivol is not a blocker. He doesn't know how to really block punches. He doesn't really get his arm in the way of this shot. It goes right through the guard, right? But look at the position that Smith is in. He literally can't fight Bivol any other way. He can only throw this jab out, and that's what gives him enough space to get away, right? But not enough space to land this punch. Not really paying for it. Right hand again over the top. Okay. And again, that little tiny space there, pretty good for him, right? Now, at the end of the round, right, he pendulums in, doesn't use any jab. Dmitry Bivol tries to catch him with the hook on the way out, smacks him with the right hand over the top. A really, really, really excellent shot that hurt him. Okay, clearly hurt Bivol. Actually, that clip's a little longer. Boom. He's gonna stagger here. You look at the look on his face. Kind of staggers a little bit, grabs the rope, still staggering. Okay, he was definitely hurt off of that shot. And again, that might have been enough for him to win the round. Smith. And Beterbiev is capable of landing shots that look that good. I don't think he's as hard of a puncher each shot for shot as Joe Smith. Now, coming forward, controlling space. Canelo's trying to come forward with the high guard. Okay, and very important that Canelo is able to actually cross the line. Canelo is able to actually weave through the line slowly, defend his position from many jabs, right? Now, look at all these punches. Look at how little ground Canelo is giving up. I know that's going to change later on in the fight sometimes. But this means that the ring is essentially much smaller against Canelo, and he's going to be able to make it to these positions 1-1-2 much more often because of the fact that he doesn't sacrifice so much of his position. Okay. Now, again, coming forward, parrying the jab there, getting right back to the front foot, eating a jab but not sacrificing his position. Okay, coming forward, trying to get there. Bivol's doing a good job of controlling him with the lead hand. Here comes his 1-2. Now, he's going to throw another 1-1-2. Now, real quick, when we take a look at these punches here, pop, 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 how much time is there between this punch and the last one? Right? Artur Beterbiev is so much slower and so much more predictable than Canelo's that in spite of the fact that it's a very similar technique, Canelo is much, much, much more proficient at it. And he still finds himself in a position, again, where he's using a very similar technique to close the distance, right? A really snappy jab, and a feinting jab, a probing jab, when to control, right? And again, Beterbiev is using his to hit his opponent and then pendulum after. But it's faster. It's less telegraphed. He's going to be cutting the ring off, and it still wasn't enough to beat Bivol, right? Bivol right back to his feinting jabs, controlling jabs, peppering him. Now, Leaping shot pushes Bivol off the line. Now jumps off the line, jumps back onto the line. 1, 2 to the body. And again, how quick is the succession between these beats? Right? He's not even trying to hit him with the jab, just control his guard to get him to stay there for the 2. And Beterbiev doesn't have this skill. He doesn't have the ability to do this. This is not something that's in his repertoire. His is always the exact same jab and the exact same right hand-ish, mostly, right? Now again, Canelo is much better at weaving through the line, much better at defending his front foot position, getting to this position so that he can pendulum walk and circle and move around in the ring. Again, we're going to take a look at some clips at Beterbiev that compare this, but look at how quickly he can more safely close the distance between him and his opponent, right? Pushing him here. Now look at where it is that Bivol decides to fight Canelo, right? A few feet away from the edge of the ring, he gets Canelo to interact with him, throws the big 1-2, pushes him to the ropes, circles off. He's squared up. He's not trying to get in his stance. He's just trying to get space. Gets to a position where Canelo is moving to his back foot. He moves to his front foot. Canelo comes forward, right? And now again, he's circling, control, moving, circling, and he doesn't let himself get into a position where Canelo has the ring cut off. This is very important because this is where Bivol has the most amount of success. Well, obviously, right? Obviously, but again, Bivol is a much better ring general than this guy, right? Than Callum Smith was. Now, you never know what Bivol's going to do when he gets on the line with you. If he's going to throw a combination and eat up your line and throw a bunch of punches and score, and then get right back to his control game. But Bivol spent the last 17 seconds of this clip controlling, circling, not eating any punches, and then finding himself back into a position after scoring in the middle of the ring, re-controlling Canelo, forcing himself to re-weave through the line and re-eat up all this space. Okay? And again, I think this space against Beterbiev is going to be so huge. I think that Canelo is, again, on average, much better at doing this trick. Now check this out. Okay? Jab, pendulum feint. He sees if Bivol's going to react, trying to off that timing. Nothing. So Bivol moves off the ropes. Again, look at where it is that Bivol decided to meet him. Boom. So he has enough space to move off, circle out. And now it's almost cut off. Canelo's about to take a step on the front foot. Gets controlled. Bop, bop, bop. Pendulum. Boom, boom. Right? Continues following up the sequence, chaining them together. Canelo's not the greatest counterpuncher. He's okay. He's not the greatest counterpuncher. He wasn't looking to interact with that first punch that he threw. He wasn't looking to isolate him from that jab. He was just following him around, waiting to get him into a position where he's on the ropes and he can unload his punches. Very similar to Beterbiev, because otherwise Beterbiev is throwing leaping shots and shifting right hands and just jumping and shoving you and throwing you around and trying to force you to the ropes. Right now, again, a lot of scoring, right? Again, and you just don't know whether Beterbiev is going to score, he's going to circle, he's going to control, right? It's very unpredictable. Now, again, look at how quickly Canelo can close the distance between him and his opponent, get him on the ropes, okay? Boom, boom, right? He hasn't had to throw a punch, control, gets that right hand off, right? And now, again, he's going to press him. Bivol makes a silly mistake, puts himself back against the ropes for some reason, lets him throw punches. Now again, gets him cut off the rope. 1, pendulum. 2, right? Sometimes Bivol's going to make mistakes and sit on the ropes. The most important part of this clip is this. How quickly he's able to shoot to the front foot here, across the line, make it back across. And without having to really throw a punch, he's able to weave through the line and put pressure on Bivol. Again, extremely, extremely important because Bivol can only fight on one side of the line. And there we saw Canelo making use of both sides of the line to put pressure on his opponent. Controlling with the hook, penduluming, putting a lot of pressure. Very similar to Beterbiev here, right? And not getting paid off. Now, pushed him off the line, throws the 1-2 to the body, still can't keep up to Canelo or to Bivol. Again, very, very similar techniques to Beterbiev in this clip. Boom, boom. Can't pin him down. Jumps off the line, jumps back on the line, gets controlled. Boom, boom. Still missing the 2, even though he timed everything almost perfectly. Bivol's keeping up. It's very, very difficult to jump onto Bivol's line. He sees, so much things coming. Very, 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 very tough to fight. Super good footwork. Okay. Now, circling, moving around, control. He just walks him into these punches. easy work. And then he decides that he's going to sit on the line here and just allows him to throw this right hand. Now, again, we talked about it earlier. Bivol sucks at blocking punches. He's okay at catching punches. He can interact with the jab pretty well and stop most jabs from hitting him. And, he's going to win the jab battle with most people. If you watch any fight with them, they say, well, you're not going to beat a boxing match with Dmitry Bivol, blah, 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 blah. His jab is too good, right? His control of his opponent's jab is also too good. But his ability to block and interact with the right hand, and this is why he always pendulums off the line. It's hard to interact with him. He jumps off the line and then jumps back onto the line. This is why he has much more bouncing than blocking and countering. Much more in and out than he has catch and counter. He has much more in and out than he has pull counter. Okay? Now again, if he slows down and he starts letting Bivol or Beterbiev throw big right hands at him, he's gonna get screwed. He's gonna get messed up. Okay? It's very important that he does not allow somebody to just blast into him. Now here's the thing. We saw what happens when Beterbiev wants to throw a shot. Even when he's planted like this, he still has to jump into it. Canelo is a much better striker here. Boom. Boom. Didn't have to jump into either of these. Canelo's also a decent 2-foot puncher. But these guys are on average utilizing the left side of the line. Pendulum walk as he brings his weight back. Canelo is a much better fighter on average, right? Pound for pound. If Canelo was the same size as Beterbiev, I'd pick him 100% of the time to beat Beterbiev. But again, without having to punch, able to what I like to call weave through the line to close the distance between him and his opponent. And again, pushing him around, getting him to the ropes, making him work all that hard. And this is, again, exactly what Bivol cannot do. Okay? On average, he doesn't usually put himself in positions like this, but he doesn't block this punch. It's a clear land. He cracks him hard. Not really any effect, though, And I think that some of that is because of the size difference between them. It was hard for him to do that. But now here you go. Coming forward, and again, no head movement. Little head movement, right? They both kind of cross the line. And now Beterbiev is on the right side of the line again. Okay, not crossing the line. He's on the right side. Circles. What does circling mean, guys? Circling means he's going to try to throw a leaping left hook, or if you throw a punch at him, he's going to try to counter you with the right hand. So he's going to try to get his rhythm going. Here he is, tries to set up a pull counter right there, tries to get that move going. He's done that move a few times. No bite. Starts coming forward, eats a left cross. Okay, controlling him. Jab, counter as he pendulums in, interacted with. Lots of punches from Smith. Easy to control him, right? His ability to cross the line and come forward, again, utilizing what side of the line. There he went to his circling and tried to find that right hand to the body, like we talked about earlier. Now he's going to come forward again. Same pattern. Pendulum. Makes it to the front foot after a pendulum step. We just saw him pendulum. Here comes a shot. Missed. Interacted with. Again, and he's just not very good at coming forward against his opponents. And utilizing the left side of the line, which makes all of his offense so predictable. Now again, a little bit here, crossing the line. Now he's back on the right side of the line. Jab, eats a jab, gets pushed off, coming forward, trying to come forward. Jab, gets attacked, pendulumed on. Here's another jab from Smith. Look at how much space he's able to commit. Little poor L step right here, moves this way. Control, here's a jab, pushes him off his line again. It's not that difficult to open up space against Beterbiev if you control him and you actually understand the art of boxing. Okay? And now Beterbiev, much more in the line of that, right? Less of a striker than a boxer, right? Much more lateral movement. And I don't really like the term lateral movement. I like to call it circling because you're not just going to follow the path of the rope, the ring apron, right? And that's what lateral movement would be one direction, but I like the circling. Now, again, same stuff. Finally gets him against the ropes. Lands no punches. Literally landed nothing. Leaping shot. Maybe he gets that one. Okay, he got that one. Miss. Control as he leaves. Finally gets him into a position where he cut the ring off, does all the things. Doesn't really get paid off. Not really that much work there. pushing him off the ropes, or pushing him off, throws the 2, he pulls it, counter, counter. Okay, this sequence here is very, very, very important because we can see that this is Beterbiev's most effective sequence. Bop, bop, bop. And he's able to pull it. Look at how close this margin is. And then counter him, counter him. Bivol's going to see the timing from Beterbiev coming a mile away. He's going to be able to interact with it. It's all going to be about whether or not he's going to get hit in his own post-punch defense when Beterbiev starts to struggle. Okay? But also how many times that he's going to sit on the line and just wait for him. Okay? Now, Canelo's going to explode in here. It's not easy to do that. Jab and explode into this hook to the body. Okay? Now Bivol's circling. He's going to jab. He's going to control and throw the 2. Boom. Explode on him. Okay? Now it takes a lot of energy to chase a guy around and throw that. Boom, boom. Throws the 2. Didn't have an explosion before. Didn't control him. Didn't allows him to peel him and pull off the line. Now when he gets on the line, Canelo makes it to the front foot. Stepping jab. Boom. Hits him. 1-2. Pushes Canelo off the line. Canelo has been chasing Bivol around the ring the way that he's been trying, like I've been showing you, with the speed and the intensity and those snappy punches, and now he's tired. Beterbiev is not going to be able to keep up that type of pace, that type of as Callum Smith called it. He said that there was a peppering, like there's a constant touching, there's a constant tap from from Beterbiev. He's always touching you, but he touches you a little bit harder, right? Beterbiev is always trying to make contact. He's always trying to hit you. But here's the thing. We've seen him use the jab, and he always tries to hit you with the jab, then pendulum, and then hit you with the right hand on the way down. He's never just controlling space. He's always throwing punches. He's always putting himself at risk. He's always exploding across the ring with as much movement to get you as close to the ropes as possible before he tries to lock you down. But Bivol is going to be able to create so much space. He's going to be able to move around so much. He's going to be able to tire Beterbiev out in this process, but also slow him down enough that I don't think that Beterbiev is going to get into position to score enough to win rounds. Even if he lands cleanly, we'll forget about it. I think this might wind up being, Bivol's, biggest Mayweather-esque performance. Now again, Canelo can't let Bivol know that he's tired. Okay, so even though he was moving away, he has to start coming forward. And as Bivol was able to check the line with the jab, he's like, hey, we're going to fight now. What do you think about that? What do you think about this? Shoves him a little bit. No, you're not going to punch me? Nothing? So he moves into a punch, moves into a punch, moves into a punch, right? And it's really easy to read Bivol as well, or to read Beterbiev as well. And when he gets tired, Beterbiev is still going to do the same thing, right? Unless he does that very, very obvious circling thing. Now, that stuff is going to work because most people are not predicting that he's going to be clever like that, but that's a small basic trick against somebody as good as Bivol, and I don't think it's going to work. I don't think he's going to be able to just move off the line and sucker you into throwing punches at him. Or trap him with a leaping hook there, like a very, very, mostly obvious leaping hook. Now, again, jumps in with the 1, the 2, counter, counter, counter. Bivol is capable of countering off of his opponent's 2s. He's capable of letting those shots go. Now, this move, we couldn't really see too much of the clip. Is it in this clip or is it in this clip here? Oh, it's in this clip probably. Boom. So it keeps coming forward. Now again, Canelo's going to keep coming forward. He can't let him know that he's tired, so he has to keep pressing, putting on the action. Otherwise, he's going to put himself on the ropes himself. Comes forward with a 1, 2, and now watch Bivol. Smacks him with a 3, smacks him with a 2, smacks him with a 3, smacks him. Right? He's capable of doing these kinds of things, and if Beterbiev is, I don't want to say if he's not ready, but his post-punch defense is not always that good. right? He'll choose to clinch. Sometimes he'll throw, but he doesn't ever block. He doesn't defend his position, and he can be hit in those positions. Um, so he throws the 2, hits him on the arm, and here comes the counter. Boom. Very, very clean shot. A lot of times Beterbiev is shifting in this moment. Now here's the second punch uh, from Bivol. Now here's the third punch. Nah, not that clean. Here's the fourth punch. Pretty clean. Gets him pretty good on the back of the neck / ear. Gets him right here on the face a little bit. And then controls him. Excuse me, guys. I'm dying right now. But Bivol, I think for the most part, he has all the tools to really absolutely dominate Beterbiev. Um, and as long as Beterbiev doesn't get credit for hitting harder than he does, because again, it took a lot of punches for him to put Callum Smith down. A lot. He caught him clean, dropped him. Now again, when he caught him clean, he was doing a stepping jab, just like when Bivol got caught by Callum Smith or Joe Smith Jr. stepping that close. Also with the hook, right? Probably stepping with the hook too, and getting just a little bit too close. So anyway, actually, now we're going to talk a little bit about um, being strong and being in shape and how that's like important, right? We got this little. He's going to start this and I'm going to talk about this. And we're just going to watch his little routine here, okay? He hit the timer and he's going to go over the thing. Now he's tapping the bag, okay? Beautiful, right? Who doesn't love that? Um, Now, being strong, being in good shape, it's very important to be fast and snappy and athletic. And Canelo, pretty good striker, pretty fast, pretty snappy. Um, you have to work really hard, even if you cheat, you know, like Canelo, like clenbuterol, whatever else he does and gets away with, because he only has to fight twice a year, right? So he can cycle in between, whatever that means. I don't know that much about the stuff, to be honest, but is this the kind of workout that gets you in shape? Is there a single person watching this channel right now? In the comments section, go ahead and leave your notes. By the way, I'm not going to be replying to comments on this video. I'm going to be replying to comments in this video in my next video. Okay, so I'm going to be reading all the comments. I'm going to save my replies. So you guys go ahead. Anyway, 200 punches so far in like a minute and a half or whatever, or a minute. Probably a minute because I think he gets 600 or whatever. But you guys remember the Floyd Mayweather video and how hard he was working, right? Is this guy working that hard? How does this guy get in that good a shape? How does this guy hit so hard if he doesn't train hard? Have you ever seen this guy train hard boxing? Okay, he's gonna do this for 3 minutes, right? We're not gonna keep watching this crap. It's crap. Okay, now there's something to this, but this is too light of a workout. 632 punches. Who cares? They were all bullshit. What's structure with them? This is a beginner's workout. It's good for beginners, right? But it's for beginners. Now he's gonna wait a minute, okay? And now he's gonna hit the bag again. Okay? Now he's gonna box. We're gonna watch it. And again, it's a light workout. Shakur Stevenson, when he's hitting the bag, how nuts is he going? He's always throwing his hardest punches. Why is this guy not really throwing very many hard punches? Why is he not really exerting himself? Why is he not working that hard? Well, he is a very strong guy. He does, work really hard in the gym, and you'll see him like do weightlifting and do like all kind of, like whole thing. And I don't even know how strong he is, comparatively to anybody else his weight. I have no idea. But he does seem like he works out kind of hard sometimes, but hard enough to be as good of a puncher as he is. His mechanics on average are not that good, right? This is not a tough workout. Any one of you guys, if you wrote down exactly every moment, you could learn to imitate this workout and do this at home. It's a bad workout. Like, it's fine if this is like your first month boxing. Like, but this is shit. It's absolutely terrible. It would take you forever to get in shape doing this. And this is his second round, right? Anyway, it's one of the reasons why I do believe that him popping for steroids is true. I think that, them saying that it's this whatever, it's adverse findings, whatever horse shit. I think it's fake. I think that he probably is a steroid cheat. Um, he's just not that fucking good. You don't get this good at boxing in at this level without you know without being good. 20-0, 20 knockouts, unless you're on steroids, right? But he punches so hard and he can do these things. But anyway, if you're not, I'll say if you're cheating to get there, right? Because part of the trick is learning how to do it physically, learning how to get strong enough to make it all work. That is part of the trick. And if you have to cheat to get to that point, you're not really that good. Okay? If you had to cheat, right? There are a lot of guys who get on steroids and like, yeah, they just batter guys. But if you had to cheat, what did you like? You're probably not really a good fighter. You're probably not good enough to do this without steroids. You probably don't know enough about training, about boxing. There's so much, the knowledge gap. And just doing steroids fills so much of it because, well, you're just insanely strong. You don't even have to worry about learning how to get strong, learning how to work out correctly. Which, by the way, check out the Fouts Boxing Combat System. Again, also, sneak peek. I don't want to talk too much about it. I want to say the Fouts Boxing Combat Academy or the Fouts Boxing Academy for boxers is coming soon, very, very soon. Um, Stay tuned, guys. Stay tuned. Um, but yeah, actually, check this out, guys. I just want to show this guy. I haven't made this video yet. No, I'm gonna save it. Okay, I'm gonna save it. Anyway, um, I've got a couple of training videos to make for you guys to show you guys. But yeah, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. I think the Bivol's gonna put on a master class. He's probably gonna get hit pretty hard against Beterbiev. If he doesn't show that he's hurt, he'll probably still win those rounds. If he shows that he's hurt, he'll lose those rounds. But I don't think that Beterbiev could possibly knock Bivol out. But we haven't really ever seen Bivol hurt for very long. Um, and we haven't really seen what he does when he's hurt. We saw him clinch right there and get the arms, and he had pretty good wrestling there. Beterbiev looks like a wrestler. He shoves people and throws people like a wrestler. I think that Bivol is actually a little bit bigger than him, just a tiny bit, half an inch, but maybe in person, his body is bigger too. Um, but yeah, I'm going with Bivol. I think for the most part, this is going to be a mismatch. Beterbiev is just he's too limited, he's too easy to pick off, and Bivol is too sharp.